Hi, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Books and Beaches. So if you missed it, last week, Jen from Bookish Blonde and I announced that we were creating a summer reading challenge or summer readathon called Booked for Summer. And we are so excited. You know, June is finally here. And so we wanted, just a fun way to basically, read for the summer. And so if you missed those videos, I will be sure to link both mine and Jen's video below so you can check those out. We have a fun game board and a lot of fun different prompts and challenges for you to, just play along this summer and basically just have a really great time reading. And so we both talked about taking the prompts and maybe giving you one or two suggestions of books that you could read to fit those prompts. And so that is what I'm doing here today. So I have got my computer in front of me per usual. And I just came up with about one or two books per prompt to maybe give you an idea of somewhere to start when it comes to all of the different challenges that you might run into on our board. So the first was Read Bliss, and this was a book with set near the ocean or a body of water. So my first suggestion would be any book, I think, by Ellen Hildebrand. A lot of hers are written, in like the Nantucket area, but I distinctly remember the Winter in Paradise series, which I believe is set in St. John. So, more Caribbean setting, but all of them are usually surrounded around like some sort of beach or water. And then the second book I have to suggest was a book that I read last year and really enjoyed, and that was The Group Trip by Audrey Ingram. And now I can't remember, I want to say they were down in 30A in Florida, but a lot of the trip surrounds around their beach. So there's that one. After that, or I should say next, we have A Frozen Treat, red, white, and blue on the cover. Had to do some looking up for this one because I can't always remember, and different covers of different versions will vary, but I found The Teacher by Frida McFadden, and actually Frida has a couple different books that are red, white, and blue. American Royals by Catherine McGee. Actually, all of my copies are sitting right over here. And then I have Drowning by TJ Newman, which was my favorite book by TJ Newman. So a couple different options there for you. Frida's more of a popcorn thriller. Drowning is a very like intense, more, suspense thriller. And then American Royals is, more of a fun YA. So then we have Poolside Thriller, a mystery, which is going to be the Flamingo on our game board. And one book that I talked about a ton a couple years ago, and I haven't probably talked a lot about since, was The Wicked Sister by Karen Dion. Now, would I say it's a summer setting? Not necessarily, but just a, I don't know, I think it would just be like a thriller that you'd want to dive into. And then I did Something in the Water by Catherine Steadman, once again, a book I read a couple years ago, but this one is actually set in more of a tropical setting. I honestly, after reading that book, I never want to scuba dive, but just, really good bingeable thriller. Then we have Roadtrip Read with travel. So, looking for some books that had some travel in them. The very first one that came to my mind was The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise, and this is by Dan Gemeinhart. Obviously middle grade, but such a cute middle grade. I loved it. She goes on, like a nationwide bus trip with her dad. And the first one was wonderful. Wasn't a huge fan of the second one, but perfect for travel. And then I did think of Survive the Night by Riley Sager, which, not my favorite Riley Sager, but I still enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoy most of my Riley Sagers. And this one was all about, catching a ride home from college. So I want to say set in the 90s too. So there was that one. And then another one, totally, not comparable to the other two, but was Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. And this is more, not Oregon Trail, wrong scenario, but traveling west. And I'm going to get the time period wrong, so I'm not even going to guess, but very hard hitting book, with a lot of, depth to it. And there was some graphic scenes in that one as well. So just be warned. After that, we have Sunscreen and Sci-Fi, read a sci-fi or fantasy. And obviously this isn't always, my big genres, but one that I definitely think people should read, and I think it surprised me on how much I enjoyed it, was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This one you have to listen to on audio. It is fantastic. And then I also thought of my favorite hug in a book, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Once again, another fabulous one, in my opinion, on audio, but you know, we get those magical creature children, so you know, hitting on that fantasy side of things. Then we have Sunflower Pick, a book with yellow on the cover. This was actually surprisingly, I'm like scrolling through my Goodreads and I was trying to find, you know, some of these that are either ones that I have read that I could talk to you about, but I have Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan, or Monaghan? I never know which one it is. I believe the dress that the woman is wearing, and obviously I'll have the cover right here, is primarily yellow, and I remember loving this book. Perfectly set for summer, and actually is also set at the beach. So then we have The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich, you know, more of, I guess, is this one considered sci-fi maybe? But you know, what would you do if you received the length of a string, or a string that was a certain length, and that was akin to, you know, what the length of your life was going to be? And then another one, totally nonfiction, is Have I Told You This Already by Lauren Graham. I have read, I think, all of the different books that Lauren Graham has put out, but I love her, you know, acting and personality, and I've read her books too, which I really like. Then we have Summerflling, a romance novel. These ones are pretty easy. I am sure most of us can think of something that comes to mind for these. But I put, for myself, The Love Haters by Catherine Senner. I believe this one either just came out last month or is coming out in June. Of course, I can't remember off the top of my head, but that is one that I have on my list to be reading this summer. And then One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, which my copy is over here somewhere. I think it's right over here. But so those are two that are going to be on my TBR for this summer. Hopefully, if I land on those, I can pick those. Our next couple things that we had on here were just flip-flop freebies, so you get to pick any book off of your TBR, so you don't have to worry about that. Then we have Campfire Classic, a classic or a retelling. Now this one was a little bit harder for me, but then once I started to do some research, one that I came up with was just a book I talked about in my June new releases video, which I can link below, but it was Worth Fighting For by Jessie Cousintanto, and I love Jessie Cousintanto. She's written a lot of different genres, but this one, I believe, is going to be a Mulan retelling, and all of the stories in that series are different Disney retellings, so I liked that one. And then a book that I kind of forgot about I read, but really enjoyed, was Cinder by Stephanie Meyer, and that is a Cinderella retelling. And I want to say all of the books in that Stephanie Meyer series are like princess retellings, so two really great suggestions. After that, we have Picnic Pages, a cozy or lighthearted read. Once again, another one that a lot of different things would fit into this, and that depends on what your definition of lighthearted or cozy is. But for me, I came up with The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I love that one, and I also really enjoyed the follow-up to that. I think it was an audio only. Very, very good. You know, we have two people that end up going on a honeymoon for, I think it was the twin sister and the best friend, because everyone else gets sick at the wedding. So I put The Guncle by Stephen Rowley. Oh, I love that book. To me, it was just so like cozy and heartwarming. And yes, there are some harder hitting topics in that one, but still overall, you know, fairly light read. And then one that I have not read yet, but I think would fit in this category, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but that was The Bromance Book Club by Lyssa K. Adams. I've heard really, really great things about that one, and so I thought that one might fit in this category. And then we have Summer Debut, a debut novel, or like, you know, a new arrival. So I could talk about a lot of the debuts that I talk about in my new releases videos, but I decided to go back a little bit and find some of the best debut books that I've read by authors I really enjoy. And one that I didn't realize was her debut book, but I think it's probably one of the best I've read, was Creep by Jennifer Hillier. That is actually was her debut, which I think is wild because that book is so, so good. And then that book actually has a follow-up called Freak, but definitely, you know, hard-hitting thriller, but I could not believe that is her debut book. And then a book that I read last year with Lindsay at Lindsay's Little Library, and then one of our subscribers, was Bodies to Die For by Lori Brand. More of a little bit of a mystery surrounding around like the bodybuilding / body positivity scenes. And that was Lori Brand's debut. So really enjoyed reading that one. Then we have a tropical title, a book set in a hot or exotic location. I love these because I found some good ones. One that I just read earlier this year was The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. Showed up twice on this list, but that one, oh gosh. And of course now, off the top of my head, I can't think of where it was set, but I know they traveled to like a remote island, you know, beautiful tropical location for a wedding. A little bit of like fake dating, but they're already married and have to persuade people that they actually are married. And then we have You're Invited by Amanda J. Atissa. I read this one a couple years ago. It's set in Sri Lanka, or I think I said that right. And this was a case, it's like a wedding, and you're trying to figure out what happened to the bride. So, but very tropical, like hot location. So then our next one after that is just a challenge. This is your summer library challenge. So, you know, being able to pick your next read from your library. I am looking forward to doing that one because our library was recently built last year, or rebuilt, I should say. Then we have Weekend Getaway, a short story or novella. Now, there are lots of these out there. The very first ones that came to mind for me was one I just read, and this was Death Row by Frida McFadden. I'll be talking more about that one in my May wrap up. The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez, really nice, cute short story. And then another one that I also just finished here at the beginning of June was People Like Them by Minka Kent. I just heard about this one from Hannah, and I want to say her channel is The Teacher TBR. I'll link her below, but very good, very quick reads. Then number 16, or our 16th one, is Star Spangled Banner, a 5-star prediction. I haven't decided what books over here are going to be 5-star predictions for me. I have a lot of them. I also need to be packing up some of my books. So that one I think is definitely more personal, but let me know what some of your 5-star predictions are, but that'll be a perfect one for that. Then we have 4th of July, a holiday themed book. Now I really tried to challenge myself to not pick like a Christmas themed book because those holiday books are so easy to find. But ones that I came up with were The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. That one is based around New Year's, and there are a lot of books based around New Year's, so those ones are a little bit easier to find. But then one that I haven't read yet was The No Show by Beth O'Leary, and this one is based around 3 women that get stood up on Valentine's Day. So like I said, I wanted to find something a little bit different, but there are plenty of holiday books out there. Then we have Summer Camp, book set at a summer camp or outdoors. Oh, this is a trope that I just like absolutely love, or I guess not a trope, more of a setting. But I thought of 3. One that I just read this year was Until Next Summer by Allie Brady, all about, you know, saving a summer camp, which is very exciting. Then we have The Counselors by Jessica Goodman. That's more of a YA thriller about 2 girls who are counselors at a summer camp, and some shady stuff goes down. And then my ultimate kind of started my obsession with reading books based at summer camps was The Last Time We Lied by Riley Sager. I love that book. I actually might end up doing a reread of that one this summer because it was the book that started like my whole thought process behind loving that setting. Then we have Passport Required, book set outside of the country that you live in. So I live in the United States. 2 that I picked, or I should say 3, I came up with 3, was When We Had Wings, and this is an author trio. I know one of them is Ariel Lohan. I'll have the cover here. That one was set in, I believe it was the Philippines during World War II. So obviously really easy to pick, you know, some of our, you know, more World War II based books that were set in Europe, but I like this one because it was different. We have Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan, fabulous on audio. And yes, it does start off in the United States, but they obviously travel to Singapore. Love that series. And then I picked One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. And, you know, this one is based about a woman, you know, seeing what it was like from the summer that her mom spent in Italy. So loved that one. Then we have TBR Tanlines, a book that has been on your TBR forever. Half of these that are over there, and this one is so unique to everybody else. So I don't have any necessarily suggestions for you on that one, but you know, pick something off of your TBR. We all have them. Then we have Beach Bag Essential, a quick fun read. Now this one I listed any of the Amazon short story collections that they have. So they have been putting out, I feel like, summer, fall, you know, different holidays, like collections of like between like 4 and 6 short stories that go together. And so I think if you search, you know, Amazon short story collections, you will find any of those. Some of them I've read all of them. I know there was some around Valentine's Day that I read all 5. And you just get these like little samples of all of the different authors. I've read ones that they put out around Halloween too. So lots of options for you there. But another one that I did read that is not related to any of those is The Situationship by Abby Jimenez. And that is a continuation of 2 characters from Just for the Summer, I believe. Very short, very quick, but I want to say it was an additional chapter in one of the special editions, and she decided to publish it as a short story. And then we have Sensational Titles. Read a book with a summer word in the title. Examples: sun, heat, sand, vacation. So I said the Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. So, you know, not your happy-go-lucky summer book, but definitely a creepy, creepy read, and probably one of my favorite Simone St. James I have ever read. And I did Stillhouse Lake, Lake being the title there, by Rachel Kane. And this is a series, and I cannot remember all of the specific details about this book, but I remember it being just like so hooked. I know we have a woman and her children that are basically on the run from her serial killer husband, and they just have to like keep hiding from him. And I want to say I only read the first 2 books in the series, but like devoured those first 2 books. So, and then the rest of them are all of the different challenges that we have for you. And so those ones are more things that you just get to go and enjoy. So hopefully this helped give you a few ideas of, if you do end up landing on any of these on our game board, things that you could pick. Let me know what some of your answers are below. You know, what books are you hoping to pick up this summer that might fit within our challenge? But as always, you know, just feel free, put those in the comments. If you are not feeling particularly comment worthy today, feel free to just once again leave a summer type emoji in the comments to just let me know you were here and you know that you're excited for this gameplay this summer. So as always, if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.